What if the thing that's keeping you stuck in life, it's not really that hard, and it's not really that hard to figure out, but you've made it just a bit too complicated. I'm going to repeat that. What if the thing keeping you stuck is not that life is too hard, but that you've made it too complicated? Seriously, what if the fatigue and the delay and the inconsistency and all the things that really drag you down, the overthinking, the start-stop rhythms, it's not because you're incapable, but because something and somewhere along the line, there's a lack of clarity, there's a lack of alignment, there's something about your belief system, and that so it's impeding progress. It's creating a scenario either in your work position, your entrepreneurial position, that's just the numbers are not recording what you planned and what you had set out to do and to accomplish your goals. So this evening, I really want to challenge that. I really, really do. And I want you to buckle up. I want you to sit back. I want you to relax. I really don't want you to take too many notes. I really want you to listen. And for those of you that are going to be joining us at a later time, please, when you go through this, listen once, go through it again, and then take your notes because some of the things that I'm going to be asking you are they're deep, they're business related, and it would be as if we were sitting in a meeting and I just really asked you to put down your pen and your pencils on your notebooks and just listened. So very often the simple things and the simple people in the world as compared to the people that are a bit more complicated or seem to complicate things, they're not really understanding what actually works. So it's a dual process. There are people on one end and people on the other. And isn't that the way it is in life? So we're going to not find a happy medium, but we're going to find the correct level of tension without and to get past the level of friction that you're currently having. So I want to introduce myself. My name is Ron Gagosian, and I'm coming to you this evening live. And for those of you that are tuning in, I am so happy that you are here. I'm really, really delighted that we're able to take this time. We're only going to spend, we're not going to spend 4 hours here. And I really want you just to dig in and really understand some of the aspects of actual clarity and alignment that drive simplicity. So today's webinar, it's entitled Simplicity Wins. Simplicity wins. That's why I wanted you to just listen and get through some of this. I mean, I'm not saying you can't take notes, please do. But I really want this to be a listening event for you because some of you really need to hear this. So this conversation that we're having, tonight together is for the person who knows. And when I begin some of the aspects of this, you'll know it's for you. So I don't believe that you need more capacity. You don't really need more wisdom or life experience or more desires or calling. Um, I think that gets to be a bit overdone. It gets to be well done. It's like getting a dried hamburger that you ordered medium well or medium or even on the rare side. So I want you to look at all of this as a rare offering and not a well done offering. And we hear a lot. We're bombarded with a lot, but we're not trying to find a happy medium. We're not trying to find balance. We're trying to find exactly in you what it's going to take. So, too many options, too much noise, too many ideas, too much information, too much emotional drag, too much waiting, too much waiting for the perfect time. Have you ever heard that one? Ever heard yourself really question that deep voice inside saying, when is it going to be a perfect time, my perfect time, just a perfect day for something to begin, to really begin to happen? So that doesn't that there's no perfection. There's never going to be a perfect day. Does not exist. And so the result is that simple things get abandoned while complicated things get admired. I'm going to say that sentence again, and I'm going to read it, and I really want you to hear it. If you'd like to take notes, write this one down. Simple things get abandoned while complicated things get admired. Do you do that? Do you abandon the simple things and actually glamorize things that are a lot more complicated? That's a bad trade. It really is a bad trade-off. Because in life, in health, in business, in leadership, in momentum, simplicity wins. Simplicity wins because you finally aligned with the fact that you don't need more capacity. You don't need more intensity. You've relinquished yourself to begin to understand the simple aspect and not glamorizing complexity. So let me come back to the question. The question is, what if the thing keeping you stuck is not that life is too hard, but that you've made it too complicated? Not because you're foolish, not because you're weak, not because there's a level of complexity and that you don't feel that intelligent, or you haven't gone to school, or maybe you don't have a degree for it outside of some professional level that requires licensing. But that can feel safe. That can be a very safe, unfortunate, and uncomfortable place, but it feels safe. And it can feel like progress when it's not. And it can feel like sort of the mindset of I'm working on it. I'm working on it. The whole aspect of I'm working on it is really a lie. And it's a lie we tell ourselves to make it more complicated, almost as a fortress and a defense. So, what I'm speaking about today are directly to business professionals, entrepreneurs who are at a particular place in your walk, in your journey. You're either looking at your KPIs, you're looking at your metrics of your business, you're looking at your bank account. That's a metric, I would think. Yes, absolutely. And that's a metric of where you're at. I'm not saying that that is the end all. I'm not saying that that is um, for some, and I'm not making any kind of uh, create an equation here, but I'm just saying that our our income and is directly related a lot of ways and in many ways to our core beliefs and a lot of our familiar belief systems. So that's a conversation for another day. But I wanted to mention that because I wanted to tie up that loose end and I don't want to leave anybody on the side of the road. But a lot of the time, complexity is just an elegant avoidance. It's an elegant avoidance. And I'll let you stay in that thought instead of action because if I'm going to let you stay there in preparation instead of talking a little bit further for that, because I want you to begin to put yourself in a decision-making mode. So start preparing that in the back of your head because you've come to a particular place, you've tuned in here, and for those of us that are not live that are going to be watching this, it's a really an important time for you to begin to prepare some decision and decisioning that you must do because the time has come. And one of the things that happens when we don't prepare for decision making, we lose ourselves in the years. How many of you have lost yourself? Well, you could be 30 years old. You could be 25 years old. 5 years means a lot between the age of 20 and 25. And let me tell you how it compounds between 25 and 30, and what that means when you go from 30 to 40 years of age and 40 to 50, 50 to 60. And then you're actually in a whole, you're really transitioning into a whole different level of life and a whole different speed and trajectory of life, income, family, children, grandchildren. What do I do with life? What do I do after I retire? Whole different game. But for those of us that are on the spectrum, and we're all on the spectrum, we all are those little data points across that spectrum. So begin to think about that. Begin to think about where you are and where you believe in the decision making preparation process of how we're going to address that and how we're going to address that individually. I really can't stress that enough. And I really, really want you to have at this time, if you're in your chair and you're watching this, or you're sitting on the couch, sit up a little bit more in more of an erect position because I really want you to be present for this, for some of the questions that we go through here today. Okay, so here we go. Here's what I've learned. So I'm talking about what is simple. So I'm going to keep it simple with you. So here's what I've learned. Complexity makes you feel busy. Complexity makes you feel busy. When things are very complicated, I bet you dollars to donuts, you're not really achieving things. And you're going to need your metrics to prove that back to you. Prove the math. Have the math available so that you can prove it to yourself when your mind in the old belief system comes a knocking. And you can say, hey, look, the numbers don't reflect what I set out to do. So simplicity makes you measurable. Simplicity. A simple Excel spreadsheet might do it for you. A complicated one may. You may want to go and get an online uh, CRM and have all the metrics in there because you're note taking. If you're in sales or you're an entrepreneur and you're calling on people, that's a level of metric. So that's the proof, that's the math. And the next one is complexity impresses people. How many people have you met? You're standing there and you're listening, and you say to yourself, trying to be as polite as you can, because I know all of my friends here are polite, and you're saying to yourself, blinking your eyes with a little smile on your face, going, I don't understand anything this person just said. Or I don't have the depth to really understand because I've not really heard that. It's too complex. It's too complex. So simplicity is an avenue where you can change lives and complexity impresses people. That's a difference. If you're in a service-oriented business, if we have people here today who are in the network marketing business, specifically, this message is for you. Complexity impresses people and they don't buy. Simplicity changes lives. And that's really, really what you need to be thinking about in those particular sales corridors. If you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to strike a deal and you're trying to create an alliance or you're trying to create um, relationships with people in a business development mode, Simplicity changes lives. Complexity impresses people, and the deal stalls. So most people don't need more information. There's a certain amount of information in disclosure that's important, contracts and things of that nature, and the way we explain things truthfully and in a very real and simple way. People don't need all of the moving parts. You can send something home with them to let them read about all the moving parts at a particular point in time in the conversation, of course. So most people don't need a bigger plan. They need a cleaner one. They need something that's simple. They need not to have any hype. Hype is really a death knell. People have this idea that if I hype somebody into um, buying something, if I hype them into how great the product works or what the bells and whistles actually do for you, and there is no internal awareness or alignment that the person is with you or the group of people that you're sitting around a table and talking to, that in and of itself is not going to float. And people at that level, um, they're they're not jiving with you, and you're just going to get a lot of blank stares. You're not going to get any questions at the end if you're giving a seminar and anything of that particular nature. You're just going to get a lot of blank stares. I know I'm going through a lot, but I'm just really trying to emphasize the aspect of simplicity. Complexity is sexy. Complexity in terms of our words and how we describe things impresses people. Doesn't necessarily get you the check. It doesn't get the deal. And the more complex it gets in terms of how you speak and how your presentation goes and your actual overall thinking for your business, that's where you will find some difficulty. Because here's what scales. Simplicity scales, meaning you can actually build upon your business with your direct KPIs and your metrics. 7 days, 14 days, 1 month over 2 months, 2 months over 3 months, 3 months over 2 months. It's going backwards there, apologize. And then you can have 1 quarter. And so if you can measure 1 quarter, you can take a second quarter. We're in the second quarter right now, and it's just the beginning. So those of you that have needed to have a reset in your business, you're right on time. You're right on time. I really challenge you, if you do not have your metrics, you don't have your KPIs in place or something that tracks you, you need to do that. You need to sit, you need to turn the radio off, turn the social media off, you need to turn the TV off, you need to turn the news off, and you need to do this. If your goals are aligned and you want to achieve those goals, these are the things that need to happen for you. So again, so simplicity scales. Simple can be taught. You can teach yourself. There are other people. There's podcasts. There are tens of thousands of things in which would be able to teach you if you don't have a mentor right now. But I strongly suggest you find one. Find a mentor, find a coach. Great people who are learning and who are succeeding have coaches. I have a coach. In fact, I spoke to my coach this morning, and he provided me information of what I needed to do. I acted on it. Today was a follow-up call. He was happy with what I followed up, and I uncovered the metrics. I went deep. I had all of that set up on the telephone call in front of me on my computer screen. And while he was speaking and he was coaching me on a particular, we were stringing ideas together, I had an aha moment in the back of my head. And the aha moment was I wasn't aligned with some of the content in my social media asking the right and proper questions. Simplicity, simplicity. That's really, really the message. And really, To be truthful, it matters. It matters greatly because if your system only works when you feel amazing, it's not gonna cut it. It's not really a system. You're in a mood. You're in a good mood. And what happens when you're not in a good mood? It doesn't happen. So discipline is really the place that it has to happen. It needs to happen one day. It needs to happen for 7 days. It needs to happen for 14 days, 1 month. Then you can go to 2 months, and you're doing this set every day. Part of your discipline for your business, your relationship, your personal well-being, your wellness. That aspect of discipline is a piece that some people, unfortunately, never learn. Some people learn it later in life. For some reason, with proper mentoring, it could be parenting, it could be examples. There's a long list of things. But some people understand that at an early age. So those of you that are younger here, meaning in your 20s, your 30s, even getting up into your 40s, and you've been doing this and having this level of discipline in your life, continue on. Refine it, make it better, drive it, and drive it hard. For those of us that are learning this now, for whatever reason, there's no judgment. Dig in because there's always a tomorrow. There's going to be a tomorrow, and there is a today. You're right now in the present, and you're learning. I want you to feel comfortable with these concepts because, again, I'm not making this complex. I'm actually keeping it simple. My verbiage is simple because I want you just to hear it as if we're sitting, say, outside around a campfire or after a dinner in a relaxed situation where we begin to talk about these things and we're both in alignment together because we understand and there's a sharing that's going on. So I'm sharing with you. I don't have the benefit to hear all of your situations, but I know they're out there. And I deeply really care about that. There's a lot of people coming to the Gagosian Group talking about these things. And when I say the Gagosian Group, I am the lead. But these are the things that people are talking about. When I'm sitting at lunch and I'm sitting talking at breakfast, when I'm giving a presentation, people ask me, what is it? What is it that creates the difference between the movement and the momentum and the conversion? And one of the questions I asked them back, how complex is your thinking? Do you have enough simplicity built in where you're not believing that you have to have more capacity? In other words, more things that you need to read, more things you need to understand, one more podcast, five more business podcasts that you need to ingest on top of the layers. It's like going to Rome and looking at the Roman ruins, and there's levels and levels and levels and levels that the archaeologists have uncovered to the point where we finally get to the place where, Caesar was stabbed to death in Rome in the courtyard. So, I mean, it would take a millennia, 2 millennia to get through all of that, but they finally have. But the point that I'm making is that don't create the layers of complexity, which can be more information. Find the level of information that creates the simple path. So let's go through some aspects here that I looked away from the camera and I looked away from the camera again because it's impactful for me. So I need to get my glasses adjusted, so bear with me as I make sure that they float back up on my head. A lot of people don't have a strategy problem, they have identity problems. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I believe that the identity problems are our beliefs. They're attached to being deep and thoughtful and capable people, but they've not yet become people or the person who executes simply and excuse me. And some of you are not completely overwhelmed yet because you, I think, have too much to do. That's an aspect. Being totally overwhelmed is a very common term you hear these days. But are you really overwhelmed? Or are you overwhelmed not so much with things you have to do, but are you overwhelmed truly because you're negotiating in your in yourself, in your mind? You're negotiating with yourself over obvious things. Let that sink in for a moment. You may not be overwhelmed with the tasks at hand, but you may be becoming in a place of overwhelm because there's a lot of noise that you're negotiating. You're receiving noise in your mind about all of the it's a level of friction that you have with yourself. And I know I'm using terms, bear with me, but you can actually feel it when you're feeling. I'm just helping you to understand what and to separate whether you're overwhelmed or you're hearing a lot of noise because you're talking. There's an internal chatter, there's an internal talk that's going on. So you already know the next step, and that's just you need to reopen those cases inside of you in a deliberate and in an intentional way that uncover that so that you can bring that level of noise down and that level of overwhelm, and you can stop negotiating with what needs to be done and have your life actually understood in a more clear way. So again, some people are more loyal. This is a real kicker. Some people are more loyal to their complexity than they are to results. Really. Where have you seen people that are just ruthlessly loyal to their complexity rather than to the results? It's so obvious, it's so clear. It's because when it stays complicated, people never really have to face the real question, like, what will I do if it's simple or it's long enough? Or how will it get done? So we actually begin to ask complicated questions when they should be simple questions to a complicated answer that we've made complicated. So the next step is what I consider immature ambition that wants a dramatic plan. And actually, you're having a temper tantrum with yourself. So it's a very subtle temper tantrum of an immature ambition that demands a dramatic plan. And mature ambition wants a repeatable one. So let me parse that away so you understand that. You'll see a lot of people that will say, I need a plan. I need a life plan. I need this plan. I need that plan. I need a plan to wash the car. As compared to, it's a one-stop shop. It's a very transactional way of understanding something, and it's not the correct way. You don't necessarily build a plan and then leave it or abandon it. You have to repeat it, and you have to repeat what works. And we already spoke about that. We already talked about that earlier here together. And that is your metrics. When your metrics are right and the numbers are beginning to compound and you're seeing that level of movement, you're getting the momentum in your relationships and things are moving on. The deal flow is beginning to happen for you. That is what you need to measure, and you need to ensure that it's repeatable. Why do people go into the network marketing business and they make a ton of money? Why do they do that? And how does that happen? And I'm specifically talking to the network marketers right now. Why is it that the high income producers they can leave one network marketing business and they can go to another network marketing business, aside from having a big funnel and they can begin to move people into that from the prior business. But aside from that, because it's a repeatable business, they know what works, they know how it works, and because they have been up to their elbows in the mashed potatoes themselves, they understand how it's repeatable. And all of this is a very simple concept because very powerful and rich people who have a lot of money, who've made a lot of money, aren't looking for new fast whiz gizmos for them to make a lot of money. They're looking for something that's repeatable, whether it's in the stock market, it's investments, it's real estate, um, it's network marketing, it's other aspects of business, could be high ticket digital types of processes. And once you find that it works based with your KPIs and your metrics, it's repeatable. That's the key. That's the difference. And that's how you dramatically separate yourself from those that talk about an immature, dramatic plan versus a very mature ambition that's coupled with something in your business world that's repeatable, that you can repeat it tomorrow, do the same thing, and earn that income and drive your numbers and scale your business. All right. Many smart people hide inside the nuance. Now, I know that can be a little airy fairy. What are people really talking about? So I'm going to repeat the question again, or repeat the statement. Many people and many smart people hide inside the nuance. They want to discuss, they want to dissect, they want to refine, they want a lot of affirmation, and they want to reaffirm and optimize almost everything. And that becomes a repeatable process, but business doesn't move. Their business doesn't move properly. So there is some work that has to be done. And that's where decisions need to make and need to be made. And it's not a level of, I mean, some people may, I'll be honest with you, as compared to being dishonest, I'm teasing you, but I'm actually saying, because that's actually, it's a form, I will honestly say, it's not a form of intelligence. But in a lot of ways, very smart people get stuck in that concept, and they actually need somebody, like when you're in mud or a deep snow, you need someone to come behind and put some wood or a tire or something under those rear wheels so they can get the traction. They actually need a push. They need to not step on the gas and create more intensity, or to put more pressure in the drivetrain, because that only continues the spin out. So I'm using a car analogy, stuck in mud or snow, but I think it applies wholeheartedly. So confused people collect options and clear people choose. That's really, really true. Confused people will continue to collect information or to size up their options, and they never get movement. But people who are clear move out. They make the decision, they're decisive, and they have their plan ahead of them with their mature ambition, and they move forward. I'm not necessarily at this point in time trying to say to you that you need to build confidence by understanding more, I'm actually asking you to build your confidence by repeating what works. That is the simple message here today. Build your confidence by repeating what works. And I'm going to repeat that one more time. This is getting to be, it may sound a bit trite, but I really sense that you're tracking with me and you're understanding this. I want you, I would love for you, I would love to hear from you in how you have built your confidence in whatever project, whatever business endeavor by repeating what works. It's an incredibly important task. John Maxwell, the great business author, speaks very much about that process. And especially for you network marketers out there, that is a key concept. It's really, and for the influencing crowd out there that uses social media, they're only repeating in various forms what works. So a person who changes is not a person who gets inspired. It's a person who gets simpler. There's less drama, less noise, and less proving and more doing. Not because they're just doing to waste time or to take up time or to look busy. They're doing what is simple and simply repeatable that's driving income and driving deal flow. End of story. That's the story. So again, simplicity is not small. Simplicity is strong. There's a lot of talk out there saying that you don't really need to have masses and masses of people follow you. You really only need 100 people. 100 people that are in your circle that will feed you. 100 people can feed you. It's not a lot of people. It may be people in your Rolodex. It may be people in your business circles. So that's a very, very simple concept where people get really lost in the weeds and deep in the weeds, whereby they really actually feel they have to buy, they're buying into this influencer type of mentality where you have to have thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of followers. Well, okay, by volume, that may be true. But if none of those followers are converting to something that puts money in the bank, they're just thumbs up. That's all they are. So that's what builds the level of tension. And there are things that create tension. And I'm going to go through those quickly for you. It steals your time. It steals your business time. Stop it. It drains energy, both from yourself and possibly for others and in your relationships. Stop it. It weakens your conviction. Why does it do that? Because you become misaligned and you're not really fully in a, as we talked earlier, in a more mature mode of repeatable. You're in that immature mode of just creating a dramatic something because that's what you believe will change it. And that that aspect won't change. You can do another plan, you could do another 10,000 plans, but unless the other side is converting, it's useless. So it delays your income. It confuses your relationships with people, your business relationships, your personal relationships. It actually can make your message muddy. Be very careful about that. And so it also, from a health and wellness standpoint, it can keep your body tired. It can keep it, you might be getting ill more often with colds or flu and infections just because your body's drained. You're not really eating properly. You're not taking the time to get out of the office and go for the walk or going for a run or going for a swim, or maybe now that the sun is staying out later in the afternoon for a nice walk after dinner after a long day, or being with people in relationship. It might be your spouse, it might be your significant other, somebody just to go and to have a relationship with and to talk and just to enjoy a walk together uh, will bring a lot of clarity to you. And that's very, very important for your overall well being. So, again, we've got the simple framework aspect. So, what does simplicity actually look like? It looks like this. And this is where you can start to take notes again. It is one clear direction. What matters now? Why does it matter to me? What does it matter to my business? One clear next step. That's key. What do I do in the next 24 hours? What do I do this week? What do I do in the next 14 days, the next 1 month, the next quarter? And I wouldn't go beyond a quarter. Our brains really, that takes on too much. You want to measure yourself by month after month and keep it to 1 quarter, and then you start again. That's a whole nother webinar in and of itself. So, one clear standard. What do I repeat daily, whether I feel like it or not? What is it that I repeat? One thing, 10 things, 5 things. I don't know. That's part of the decision making that you have to go through. But basically, it's one clear offer to you. And what am I actually doing? So I have, from this time together, I don't have momentum in my life because I took my magic wand out and waved it over me because I have some special powers in my little magic wand. And it's not from noise, and it's not from immature thoughts that I have, and it's not from more tabs or more social media or more busyness or the things that make up the special things of theory. It's from clean and clear repetition. Clean and clear repetition. So, this is exactly why these conversations matter, because a lot of people do not need another motivational talk. And I really hope today this has not been a motivational talk to you. This has been something over the kitchen table, something over a cup of coffee, or something that can actually make a difference for you. I want it to be relatable to you so that you understand in an up-tempo, real up-tempo type of conversation with passion and energy that you need to declutter your life. I'm not talking about your garage. That's a whole nother webinar, but I'm teasing. That point is that you need to declutter your thinking and make it simple. And so that's work. And it's only going to be done by the right people. And the right people, for some of you, you're going to need some help. And there is help out there. If there is an opportunity where you want to think about this more, I challenge you to go to Gagosiangroup.com and sign up for a 45-minute clarity call, and there's no obligation. And those are the kinds of things that we can talk about. So if the things today that resonated with you, if there are people out there that these topics within this framework of keeping things simple and that resonated, put a 1 in the chat box. Yeah. Yeah, of course. And it's important, thank you for doing that. It's important that you understand that everybody out there has certain business issues. I have them, you have them, and the next person has them. But if you are recognizing what those standards are, and one of my favorite books, business books right now, and what is today? It's almost mid-April. Tomorrow is tax day. I've read going on 9 books already this year. 9 books. And one of my most favorite books is uh, Stephen Bartlett's The Diary of a CEO. The Diary of a CEO, he compartmentalizes 5 aspects. I'm not going to go through the book. If you've read it, great. I strongly suggest you go get the book. I received no royalty, no endorsement, but the point, and I don't even know Stephen Bartlett. I'd love to shake his hand someday and say hi to him. But what that book has provided me in terms of reinforcement of these simple aspects that we've talked about today, um, it'll nail it down for you. It really, really. So here is, if you've put ones in the chat, you've answered the questions, you've sat back, you've listened. And for some of you, we're at a particular inflection point where maybe this doesn't make sense to you. And there's some of you out there where this is making massive amounts of sense and you've not heard it like this before. And I'm coming to you in a very real and simple way that if what I've shared with you today hits you directly in the chest, because you've been overthinking things or overreacting for things and not repeating things in a repeatable manner, and your income and your bank account reflect that, or relationships aren't working in your deal flow, but you're ready to get clear about these things and you're ready to get honest about these things and get moving, then I highly suggest you, for those that have stayed at this point in time, those are the people that I would love to talk to. Those are the people that I know we can have at least a meaningful conversation. So it's not next month. It's not sometime. It's not when life gets less busy. It's really about now. And there are a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things going on in our lives. There's a lot of things going on in the world. There's massive geopolitical movement going on. And I also know, aside from those things at a very deep and personal level, we all have things that are going on, but it is only really the people who take this process in a very simple manner, in a very intelligent manner, that if you simplify your strategy and you simplify your communication and you build momentum, and you build momentum that's real because you can measure it, it will honor you. So I want you to reach out. And if you're ready to simplify that thinking, book a call, send a message, reply directly, and take the step. I've worked with many, many people, and I've actually gone through some of these steps with them that will provide a meaningful and a simple lane. Everybody's different. And we can actually move you into that right message spot for you, because this is the truth. Your next level may not require more effort. It just may require less confusion and less noise. I know there's a lot of you right now who are listening to this, and those that are going to be out in the future listening to this, that there are times where I know you've had your hands in your covering your face, crying in your office, lamenting to yourself in your living room, on the couch, in the quiet, in your office, with the door closed. Your admin, you've asked to hold your calls because you just needed a moment, because you're at a particular place where you just don't want to take that next step. And so I'm asking you to be bold. I'm asking you to take the step, and I'm asking you to move and to create a small step of movement for yourself, because simplicity and the whole aspect of simplicity wins, because simplicity moves when we have those and have that understanding with ourselves that we don't need more information, we don't need more confusion, we don't need to really, in a way, sensualize this level of complexity because it makes us feel better, but getting and having that feeling for some of us is not getting us anywhere. So in closing, remember, simplicity compounds and it creates pressure. It does. It creates a trust. You begin to actually, your mind will actually begin to trust you. Yeah. Very, very a key neuropsychology aspect. You will begin to trust and become a friend with that level of alignment once you get into a simpler state. So that clarity creates conversion. And so tonight, I want you to do me a small favor. I want you to ask yourself, where in my life have I made things more complicated than they need to be? Where? And what simple truth have I been avoiding? Let that one drop in like a rock on a beautiful still pond. You can actually hear the bloop in the water. And what simple actions have I delayed? What simple structure would change everything if I actually honored it? And that's where your power is, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Again, my name is Ronald Gagosian. I would love to speak with you. If there's anything that I can do for you personally, professionally, please reach out at the Gagosian Group on Instagram or gagosiangroup.com on our website, and you can make an appointment. We can talk, we can Zoom, and we can have some opportunity to get to know one another. And with that, I wish you a very blessed evening and a blessed afternoon. Goodbye.